Innovative and Societal Community Impact Award for products that we have developed and actually integrated into our community.
Look at this photo of you guys winning an award.
Yeah,
That's awesome. That's cool. That's very cool. But these are actually some international awards.
International.
This is something that banks, credit unions, everybody really fight for, these kinds of awards, right?
Yeah, my understanding is there are over 250 nominations, and so to have a credit union, Albuquerque, New Mexico, be recognized for what we have done to really help with access and innovative products and services is really incredible.
I don't think of banks necessarily selling products, but what do you guys sell that's innovative and different? What is that?
The credit union, this is mission aligned for us. So we believe in people helping people, and that the more members we have, the better we do for our members in our community. But for these products, it was specifically on solving with challenges that people have for barriers and access around credit, around access to capital, especially if you face challenges with credit or collateral. So it was called the alternative to the alternative.
Oh, very cool.
Through micro assistance.
So how did you, just take us back for just a second,
Sure.
Because you are working in the city, but you're also working for Nusenda.
Correct.
So how did this, you're on loan from Nusenda, so how did that happen?
Well, Nusenda is very generous, and this is just a different way to provide philanthropic support to our community. You can do that through charitable donations, but you can also do it with executive on loans. And Nusenda was one of the original partners for the Albuquerque Living Cities Integration Initiative, which I'm spearheading. And as you know, we're only one of 4 cities in the entire nation for living cities, 22 of the world's largest foundations and financial institutions. And we're focused on job creation.
I'm a huge fan of Living Cities because the Skill Up Centers are part of that,
Correct.
and there's so many other things that are part of this Living Cities thing, and it's basically bringing in several $100,000, right?
Right. We have leveraged so far $1.5 million for our city on different kinds of innovative programs and policies, and really again focused on job creation and economic mobility. So an asset-based approach. Where do we have assets and resources in our city that we can use to really leverage and change our economic reality and add more jobs and support economic mobility?
And where are you guys seeing that?
We're seeing that through all the different types of accelerator programs that are happening.
There's ABQ ID, Creative Startups just had its demo day last Wednesday.
Entrepreneurs, the Stimulus Center, Innovate ABQ. South Valley Economic Development Center.
Oh, we got Josue back here too, talking about exactly that.
Yeah, and we see the service providers really strengthening and providing more resources and support to really impact job creation in our city.
What's the next steps now with Living Cities? So you guys have been applying for grants, you've been working, you and the mayor, I know, were on the ground for a year talking to people and really trying to gather a bunch of information.
Right.
So what'd you find out and what do you do with that information?
We found a lot of areas where we have strengths, but also gaps. So what did we find out? What do we have to do for strategies and implementation to address those gaps and barriers? So that's the next step.
Okay.
We have different kinds of action teams that are specifically looking at data and strategies that our 180 stakeholders came up with to strengthen our ecosystem.
Oh, very cool. So where are the gaps? I mean, I see around, I look at the city and I can see certainly pockets of the city that need help. I don't know if those are economic development gaps or just pockets that need help.
Right.
And what's the difference?
I think it's both, that they're always going to, well, not always, there's going to be communities that need to have more access and information where there are service providers on the ground and connecting to those individuals so that they can really get into the kinds of programs and be able to be supported and be successful. And economic development is trying to really reach out to not only serve traditional businesses, but non-traditional business owners as well.
Like the solopreneurs of the world.
Solopreneurs, micropreneurs. We know that 90% of our economy is by small business development.
Right.
And think about that. So we need to have a backbone support for those solopreneurs and micropreneurs. It's not just about high tech, even though that's a really important part, commercialization of research, but really individuals who are maybe 1 to 2 employees. And you asked for a specific co-op capital where we won the international award was a perfect example. So we found that even though there is capital in our ecosystem, there are gaps and barriers to getting access to that capital, especially if you have credit or collateral challenges.
Right.
And
that's nothing new. I mean, we've known that.
Right. But we need to do something about it. So we addressed that issue by providing an alternative to the alternative. And so a community organization actually underwrites the loan based on a character-based relationship. And everybody said, oh, you know, don't try that. That's too risky. There's no skin in the game. And actually, the default rate on this product is
way
less
lower,
than 1%.
isn't it?
Yeah, because of the trusted relationship.
Right. Actually, has been making loans like that for 20 years, and they're really doing well doing that.
They're doing great. They're
Yeah.
doing great. And we took it one step further and created a product for organizations that won't even qualify for those type of organizations.
Very cool. What's the latest with the Skill Up Centers? I know that was a big part of Living Cities and part of this whole project, and just haven't heard much about them lately.
The Skill Up Centers are growing, and I believe that there's going to be a couple of big announcements coming up for that.
That's
so,
why I'm
can't
asking.
preempt
I
it.
heard a
can't
little bit of rumor
preempt
about
it.
that.
That's not mine to talk
Yeah,
about,
okay.
but there's some great work going on in our community.
Well, help us get Jamae on the show, and
okay.
she can talk about it.
I will try.
Yeah. And Living Cities itself is it's a different kind of initiative, because
Right.
what it is, help me figure this out, because
Okay.
the pieces, there's like several different moving pieces, right?
Right.
Because there's you heading it up, and there's the city implementing it, and then there's a bunch of other different people kind of pitching in and lending their expertise and their space and their money. But the big push is coming from outside foundations, right?
Right, and it's not just the city implementing it. So the city's one piece of it. It's
Right.
about aligned activities and resources for that larger goal. So we have TVC, we have the city, we have South Valley Economic Development Center. We have a broad variety of stakeholders who are all looking at their own resources, their own systems, their own programs and products, and saying, how can we contribute to this larger goal and strengthen what we're doing so we can accelerate this?
How did Albuquerque get to be one of the 4 cities? Because this is like us, it's like Nashville. I can't remember what the other ones are.
It's us, San Francisco, Seattle, and New Orleans.
New Orleans, okay.
Yeah, I mean, we had the right leadership at the right time around a coordinated strategy, and I think that we just showed that we had the grit and determination to have this happen, and that we were all willing to work together, which sometimes is not an easy thing to do.
Right. Well, I know, and a lot of these issues can get politically charged, they can
Can.
get socially charged. There's a lot of...
There's both of that happening. And this is a 10-year trajectory, so that's the other thing, is it's really easy to say, okay, go out and fix it. And the beauty of Living Cities is they say these kind of initiatives take 10 plus more years, and you have to have the persistence and the dedication and the tolerance if you really want to change.
And we're, what, 3 years into this?
We are 2.
2 years into this,
Yeah.
So we
8
got
more
a
years
we
to
got a
go.
long way to go.
That's right.
But it sounds like we're off and rolling, though, really.
We're off and rolling. We're in implementation. We were selected as one of 4 cities, so we're very proud.
Yeah. And then with this, now we've got $1.5 million that's already been leveraged.
Right.
I mean, is this the kind of thing that we're looking at over 10 years, $100 million, or?
Well, we don't know what the amounts are, and we certainly hope that we'll be able to leverage more resources. Living Cities has access to resources, so it's really about where it aligns with our overarching goals and where they can help catalyze our change.
Excellent. We'll be back in a couple of seconds. We got, more fun stuff. We got Josue coming in from the South
Yeah,
Valley
he's
as we
great.
talk about exactly this kind of stuff.
Yep.
On the ground in Morning Brew with Friends.